I would love to ask you one of my favorite questions is what does happiness from within mean to you?
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong answer, whatever's in your heart. So,
Yeah, I think I might have two answers.
yeah, go for it.
One of them is um, and I'm also going to share another story because we love
Please,
storytelling.
please tell. You're the story queen, okay?
So last week I went to a yoga class, and this one is more inversions. And so I did gymnastics as a kid, so I'm not like
Wow.
yeah, it's only like 2 years, but I was very flexible.
Wow.
Um, so I've done handstands before, but it's been a very long time since I'd done a handstand with like no support. And I kind of like went to do it up against the wall, and I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't even tap the wall when I did this, so I'm gonna go back to my mat. And I fell.
Oh
Um,
no. Oh,
it,
sorry. Don't.
no, it's okay. There were
Sorry.
no injuries. I like bent my legs so that I landed more in a bridge. And it kind of spooked me out. And the guy next to me was just like, it's okay, you're okay, like you caught yourself. And I felt really like kind of energized by that. And it just kind of reminded me like it's okay to trust myself to fall because I can catch myself. And that just gave me a huge sense of relief, even when I was thinking about like my business. So when I talked to him at the end of class, he was like, how'd you feel? And I was like, I feel inspired right now. And he was like, what? He's like, yeah, like I'm ready to take on the world.
So awesome.
But saying all that to say that sometimes I think happiness within is embracing the fear. It's allowing yourself to fall and not letting that define like, am I a failure at life or can I not do this anymore? Because I think that sometimes when we're especially in the beginning phases of learning anything new, it's like, ouch, that hurt. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not meant for it. But I think that the happiness within is knowing like I can fail, I can fall, and I'm going to get right back up, and that's okay.
Calling all women on planet Earth. I'm coming down to help you wake the heck up. Let's go, beautiful. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another beautiful episode of Happiness from Within. I am beyond ecstatic. We have another really beautiful, incredible guest today. She's here to share her amazing story. Her name is Rachael Espaillat. She was a former TV reporter, and now she's turned into an incredible media and sales coach. And yeah, we're just, as you guys know, our mission here is to touch people's hearts and souls at a very deep level through interviews, but she's also going to give you some great business tips. So I actually have her here. How are you today, Rachel?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So really excited to have you here. This is actually the first time I've had a TV reporter, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm happy to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. My first curious question to you is, through your personal journey, what has your personal journey taught you about healing behind the camera?
Oh, that's a really good question. My personal journey. I say that um I'll be honest with you. I'm a shy introvert, so I had no intentions of ever being on camera. In fact, the first memory I have of doing anything recorded, I was in high school. And my principal ran this class, and he had us recreate Steve Jobs' famous graduation speech. And I walked up there. My best friend yelled something out, and I stood there laughing in front of the class for like 10 minutes straight. It was so embarrassing to think that like eventually when I got into college that I would become a news reporter. It sounds like absolutely insane to me. But I think that there's something really magical and vulnerable about showing up on camera because you have live moments every single day in life. But the moment somebody sees that camera recording, you feel kind of like naked, exposed. So when you are really comfortable with yourself, it helps you to show up on camera. So I don't know if that exactly like answers your question, but I think that the healing happens before you're on camera so that when you show up on camera, you are able to show up comfortably.
Wow, that was really beautiful. No, I love that. I love that. There's just to share briefly, there's this really beautiful Hindi film. It's called Fashion, and it's about this model. And not to ruin it, because I would love for you to watch it, but she has many moments, where Yes, of course she's beautiful, but she comes from a very, poor, very poor town, but very humble. And there's many moments she's on her knees and she says something very similar to that because she actually has somebody that passes away right before she's about to get on this like runway that's about to change her life. And at that point she was already literally at her lowest, but she literally is just like, I have to do this. She's like, I have to not only do this for me, but I have to do it for the other woman, that had passed away. And so so I don't know. I don't know why that came up, but it just kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of that, just being on camera, right?
I think it's really important and a great point because we go through these dualities in life where you can be experiencing a peak while also grieving something else. And that's just a part of life and how it flows, being able to take the good and the bad. So I totally see it. And sometimes that is showing up on camera. Like I'm terrified to do it, but I'm being empowered to do it at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. So curious to ask you, what was a moment in your life, Rachel, that brought you to your knees and how did you rise from that?
Oof, so many moments in my life, which
Anything you'd like to share that you feel comfortable?
okay, well, this is actually a very like vulnerable story that I'm about to share. I don't tell a lot of people this, but it's actually kind of the driving force of why I became a news reporter. So I had a high school boyfriend that I absolutely adored, but our relationship turned long distance when I went down to school in New Orleans because I'm from the Boston area.
Nice.
And we broke up, found out that he cheated on me. You know how the story goes. But there was a time, like a year and a half later, where we rekindled things and I was getting ready to graduate. Then I found out that he was back with the girl that, was in between. And so it was very confusing for me because we weren't in a relationship, but we were like, hey, when we graduate, like we're gonna be together. Then I actually like spotted them at a restaurant while I was home for Christmas break.
Mm.
And like I said, I'm a very shy and quiet person. I know it doesn't come off like that. When I saw them at the restaurant, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I sat down at the table with them. And he got up and he walked out. She sat there, and then I walked out and I followed him. And we had like a very brief conversation. And he was so angry that I did what I did. And then he and her left. And a few days after that, I actually, maybe a week after, I'm not sure about the timeline, but I was in a really bad car accident. And I can't believe I'm about to say this actually, but I was actually arrested for a DUI. Fortunately, things were like handled and I was actually found not guilty for it. But I remember leaving jail and crying my eyes out and just saying, like, I'm going to be a news reporter. And that was like the thing of like, when I was in that state, I had never even thought of being a news reporter before that. But, and I had been told by professors that, getting that type of charge was social suicide and you would never be able to be on air after that.
Mm.
But in that moment, and things have changed a lot since then too. But in that moment, it was just because I've been told that I can't do this and I have such like a big ego and I wanted people to know that even if I never came back home, you guys would know that I did well. So that was a huge driving force for me being a news reporter. And I don't really share that story because I'm also still sometimes embarrassed by it.
Oh yeah, no need to be embarrassed. The stories that you hear on this podcast, there's no judgment. We're all human. I really want to thank you for sharing that. I'm sure somebody listening to this right now is really going to be empowered by that. It's interesting because this really flows actually into the next question of how like would love to ask, what part of yourself did you have to reclaim to be truly seen, not just on the screen, but in your soul?
Yeah. I think a part of it is like my I would say my adamance about staying true to who I am. So
Mm,
I grew up I'm a first generation Dominican American, only daughter. I have three brothers, and I also have a brother with special needs. So, with my family, they relied on me kind of heavily to kind of raise my brothers. And so, in doing that, I found myself as a caretaker at a very young age. And it was part of the reason why I wanted to go so far away from home to school because I wanted to find out who I was outside of my family.
Mm,
And I found that a lot of times that I don't actually feel like myself when I am back home.
mm.
So it's why I've moved around a lot. It's part of the reason like journalism worked out perfectly because before I even said I wanted to be a news reporter, I said I wanted to move around for every 2 years because I had such a hard time with like settling down. Because I just felt like there was a whole world that I needed to explore. So I'm not sure if that exactly answers your question, but I love being in other places because it forces me to become closer to myself.
No, I love it. That's so beautiful. You and I actually share something in common. I grew up with a lot of brothers too. And I remember when I wanted to leave for college, I studied music many years ago. And I went away from LA. I was like, I went to school up in Northern California. I didn't want to be in LA, even though there's all these good schools. But it's true. It's exactly true, right to the point where you're saying it's like, you wanted to find yourself, your soul, your higher self was leading you in that direction. And I think that's beautiful. Good. That takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of
It was
courage.
so scary. I remember like I flew down to New Orleans, like no family to come help me. Like it was just me. And then the first week there was Hurricane Isaac, I think it was, and we were
Um,
like trapped in the dorms for a week, like no hot water,
wow.
power going out. I got sick and was like, I'm never going back home.
Wow. That's wild. Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like at that point, things were opening up for you, spiritually and in your heart, like do you believe that storytelling can awaken people spiritually and how have you seen it happen for yourself?
Yes, I think so because when we share story, I mean, literally life is all about solving problems and sharing stories. Like those two things is really what life is about. So I think that when we share stories, we're able to connect with people more. Like we just found out that we both had siblings and we decided to go really far away for school. You wouldn't know that without storytelling. And sometimes you hear a story and it may have nothing to do with you. It may not really even touch on anything that you've ever experienced before, but it shapes and shifts the way you see the world. So I think in that way, we're always being awakened by stories.
Oh, absolutely. No, that is beautiful. I love that. What message would you give your younger self, the one just starting out in broadcast? Most need to hear from you now.
Yeah, to embrace the fear.
Mm.
Fear comes up all of the time. And I am proud of my younger self for not giving up. But embrace the fear because I think that there were things that I could have done to get farther ahead faster if I had just embraced the fear. Because sometimes we get scared and we don't want to do it anymore.
No, that's beautiful. I love that. You know, in a world that's full of so much noise, how do you stay anchored in your truth?
Yeah, I think it comes down to finding ways to reconnect with yourself. Like I really am very intentional about finding alone time for me because I think that my relationship with myself is just so important. The way that I talk to myself, the way that I treat myself, and just showing up for myself as the friend that I want to be. Um, because it's kind of weird. Like we can be two people while being one at the same time. I don't know even know if what I'm saying is making sense, but you have to befriend yourself in that way. Because some people, I hear the way they talk to themselves, and I'm like, gosh, don't do that.
Well, it's just kind of like what we were talking about earlier off camera about the energy. It's like they say even like the songs that we listen to, like or the things we say to ourselves, like everything's energy. It's like what are we attracting, right? So
Yeah.
that's so awesome. So now I'm curious to dive into, so you went to school. How much longer after that did you take us into like how you started your journey as a reporter?
Yeah, so I graduated in May of 2020, no, 2016. Not in the 20s
You're so
yet.
young. You're a baby.
I know. I don't feel like it though. So in 2016, and So because I decided like very last minute that I wanted to be a news reporter, I didn't have like that nice fancy internship that other people had. So I came up with this plan because I was driving back from New Orleans to Massachusetts, um, to create a reel, which is like a little highlight of like reports that I've done, and stop at different newsrooms and hand them out.
Mm.
And it just so happens that I stopped at a small town in Hagerstown, Maryland, and I was like, "Hey, can I like I just want to introduce myself to the news director." And the receptionist is like, "Yeah, we don't really do that. Like we have an application that you can fill out online." And I was like, "Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm not here to fill out an application. Like I just want to meet the guy." And she was like, "Oh, you know what? Okay, hold on, let me see." So like he told me,
Wow.
"Hey, I need some time." And we eventually chatted. And he's like, "Hey, I don't really have any positions available right now, but like let's stay in touch." And I didn't stay in touch with him. I actually, it was the summertime. I just graduated. I was like bouncing around the United States traveling. But then I went back to New Orleans for a conference. And within the first 30 minutes of being there, I ran into him. And he was like, "Hey, you're that girl that was like driving up to me." And I was like, "Boston, but I'll take it."
Wow.
So at that point, he was like, "Yeah, I do have like positions available. Let's keep in touch." So I think by end of October or early October, I had the job and I was working there.
Oh my God. Oh my God, what an entrepreneurial spirit. You're just like literally going from town to town. Like, wow, that takes a lot of courage. I'm honestly like I have chills right now. That's like when you
Thank
really
you.
want something. I mean, wow,
Yeah,
honestly, hats off to you. That is freaking awesome. My
thank
God. Like
you.
girl power, woman power.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm like, I'm gonna show up. Like, and you don't need to know who I am. And I think I even said, like, it's okay that you don't know me, but we're gonna be in the same industry, so we might as well network
Wow, girl, you're going down in history.
somewhere.
Oh my God. I
I
love
heard,
it.
thank you. I heard that Hoda Cope, I hope I say her last name right, that she did something similar to that to
Huh.
get into the news industry.
Wow. I mean, it's just like people like you that are, very successful. I mean, you're just in the beginning. I mean, you're going to go up and up and up. I see that for you very clearly. It's like it reminds me totally random story, but like if you think of Thomas Edison, right? People thought who would use a who would use a I forgot to turn on my light. That's okay.
That's okay.
Where they're like who would use a light bulb, right? Like we have candles, right? Like they told him he was crazy. And then that day when he was doing all the electrical outlets in New York City, and then the day that he lit up a whole street, they're like, "Oh my God!"
Right. Yeah, I think it's really about going against the grain and that's the hard I think that that's probably the hardest part, right? Is like you have people that have found a path that worked for them and they try to project what is going to work for you too. And I have this conversation with my mom all the time and I was like, if I haven't asked for your advice, I'm not going to listen to it because I don't want anybody to taint what I think as far as like going on the path that I want because it is unconventional sometimes. And I call myself like a calculated risk taker because I'm willing to risk it all for what I believe in sometimes.
No, I love your energy. I think that's incredible. I want to applaud you because that's really, really incredible. So I would love to transition. So you were a TV, how many years were you a TV reporter?
I was in the industry for 5 years and then
Oh,
after
wow.
yeah, after that, I had a bad experience at my last station and
Okay.
I up and quit. I literally was just like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And one thing that people don't know about the TV news industry is that we sign big contracts. And even to be in a small market where they kind of like own your image, your perception. And if they want to say like, yeah, we're not going to release it, they won't. So sometimes people end up having to pay money to quit their jobs and break that contract. So I was in a situation where I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I felt undervalued. And I was just not, and also too, it was during the pandemic. So I'm far away from home, which is
Wow.
not new to me, but I was all the way in Texas during the pandemic. So that says a lot.
Oh, wow.
Especially being like a northeasterner. Um, And so I remember I did a Reiki session, and it was my first time ever doing a Reiki session, and it was with a yoga instructor.
Wow.
One of my yoga instructors. So I was doing aerial yoga out there. And she was like, your self-confidence, you have it, but I want you to trust yourself blindly. Like you're going right, but then something tells you to go left, just do it. And I swear a week later, I was like, yeah, I'm quitting my job. I'm doing it at all costs. And I felt like this huge sense of relief. I'm not really a spiritual person, but I was like, God told me to do it, so I have to do it. um, so I moved back home, and then 2 months later, I was contacted by a tech media and marketing company, and I was a video journalist for an online magazine. So like not local TV news anymore, but still news-ish. So that
Huh.
long story to say that.
Oh, that's epic. I love it. I was actually on your Instagram. I was stalking your Instagram. No, I was kidding.
And that's okay. That's how you get to know people.
No, I was just checking out your social media, the Instagram, and I was like, damn, this girl is good at telling stories. Because you don't have to, you're welcome. You don't have to have a lot of followers, and I'm seeing all these people, DM me audit if you want like I'm like, I was like, all these people are DM her because I was like, you know how to use the language, and I think that's really amazing. So tell us a little bit, any entrepreneurs that are listening, like, yeah, I need to get my message out there, like, tell us a little bit more about your work, like we hear about sales and stuff, but yeah, why is it that having, this message of storytelling, why is it so important?
Yeah, so the thing is like obviously we want to use social media for our business because it's free advertisement at the end of the day. Showing up on camera is really like the introduction to a conversation. You're having a conversation with somebody before you guys are actually exchanging words, and you do that through your messaging and your social media. So, and I think a lot of people, it's there, but just knowing how to use it the right way can make a world of a difference with how you're able to just boost your business. There's a famous quote by this journalist. His name's Al Tompkins. Written a book, but it's write for the ear, shoot for the eye, aim for the heart.
Oh,
And that's what we do as video journalists. That's like what I live by as like a teaching format, because you're connecting the visual with the audio and with the presentation. And when you have it all working together, that's logic and it's emotion. And that's what really makes people buy at the end of the day, having all of it together. So I actually don't remember what your question was, so I hope I
that's
answered
yeah.
it.
No, that was great. No, I was just asking like a little bit more about your services, but no, you answered the question about the storytelling. That's beautiful. So like when you I don't know, when you have a call with someone, like do you I mean, I'm sure you pre-screen people, making sure they're going to be a good fit to work with you and that sort of thing. Um Yeah, like do people do they purchase like 6 months with you, or how does that work? Like do they purchase reels, or like I'm sure you're helping with their message. If you can go a little more into, of
Yeah,
course, not giving all your secrets away, right? But
right.
no, I just would love to hear like yeah, your how you're using your gifts, to, you know.
Yeah. So it's a 3 month container. It's a kind of a short period of time, I guess. But it's a lot because we meet weekly, and I'm
Sure.
really teaching you the tools of like what is your story, how do you want to tell it, and how are you gonna get those clients in. So it is a mix of like teaching the content and teaching the sales process. But it's really, I kind of go into it a little bit of putting my reporter hat on and like interviewing people in the sense of like, I want to know what your story is so that I can teach you how to tell it instead of me telling it for you. And I'm really big on the authentic raw self in that sense of like when I was in the field doing interviews, people were like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'm going to ask you the right questions and I'm going to dig with you because I want you to say it in your own words so that we know how to uplift your voice. And that's the most important part to me.
No, I think that's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's one of the biggest thing that entrepreneurs struggle with, it's like we're kind of chasing after this whole social media thing, and if it's like, what are you telling the what are you telling people, right? So I think it's great what you're doing. People need what you're doing. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
sorry,
No, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, there's always this pressure to show up perfectly. And I think people feel it even more on social media than like most things in life because you know what's there, right? Like you can get millions of views and things like that, but and I would say this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for me as a news reporter because I had to show up regardless of how I was feeling, right? Whether it
Yeah.
was a live report or anything. And there were so many times where like I bombed that. Like I totally messed up. But I didn't see like I knew that the numbers were there. I knew we had the demographic, but I never saw it in real time the way you can see how many people are tuning into your live, right? But I got comfortable with the fact that I know people are watching me, but there's also like that sense of removal where I think people don't exactly get that grace on social media.
No, that's great. I think it's awesome. I would love to ask you one of my favorite questions is what does happiness from within mean to you?
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong answer, whatever's in your heart. So,
Yeah. I think I might have two answers.
yeah, go for it.
One of them is um and I'm also going to share another story because we love
Please,
storytelling.
please tell. You're the story queen, okay?
So last week I went to a yoga class, and this one is more like more inversions. And so I did gymnastics as a kid. So I'm not like,
Wow.
yeah, it's only like 2 years, but I was very flexible.
Wow.
Um, so I've done handstands before, but it's been a very long time since I'd done a handstand with like no support. And I kind of like went to do it up against the wall. And I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't even tap the wall when I did this. So I'm gonna go back to my mat. And I fell.
Oh
Um,
no. Oh,
it,
sorry. Don't.
no, it's okay. There were
Sorry.
no injuries. I like bent my legs so that I landed more in a bridge. And it kind of spooked me out. And the guy next to me was just like, it's okay, you're okay, like you caught yourself. And I felt really like kind of energized by that. And it just kind of reminded me like it's okay to trust myself to fall because I can catch myself. And that just gave me a huge sense of relief, even when I was thinking about like my business. So when I talked to him at the end of class, he was like, how'd you feel? And I was like, I feel inspired right now. And he was like, what? He's like, yeah, like I'm ready to take on the world.
So awesome.
But saying all that to say that sometimes I think happiness within is embracing the fear. It's allowing yourself to fall and not letting that define like, am I a failure at life or can I not do this anymore? Because I think that sometimes when we're especially in the beginning phases of learning anything new, it's like, ouch, that hurt. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not meant for it. But I think that the happiness within is knowing like I can fail, I can fall, and I'm going to get right back up, and that's okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Woo, that was good. That was really good. And you said you had another definition or you wanted to share a story?
Uh, I think I think I'm gonna leave it at that for now because I can't remember the other one.
That's okay. That's okay. Did you want to share a story you said?
That was the story.
Oh, there you
I
go.
grabbed it all in one and just kind of the story was me falling and how that like inspired the the embrace the fear, I guess.
No, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. So one of the things that we love to do here at Happiness from Within, just what would love to open up the floor just with anything else you'd like to share from your heart, any messages. Doesn't necessarily have to be about storytelling or if you want it to be, but yeah, just anything you'd like to share with the audience before we end.
Yeah, I would say to kind of find different ways to challenge yourself. Had I not, I really view like the first big challenge I did like on my own, that was my decision, was moving down to New Orleans. And it gave me this beautiful taste at a new life because before that I was very much kind of boxed in with what I could do, not necessarily like just in the sense of like it was a small town where like if you let like nobody ever left. There wasn't much out there and I knew that there was a whole other world out there. So I heavily encourage anybody to move away from home even if it's just 2 hours away because you get really intimate time with yourself, and you're also forced to do things by yourself that you wouldn't normally do. And I think that there's something really beautiful about that in the I'm I'm forced to be alone, so I have to figure it out on my own. And I think that like that's why I continued to move to different places and restart so that I could be that comfortable with myself to do things on my own. Like I can't tell you how many embarrassing times I had like, I don't want to record right now, but like I have to record that right now. So like now I don't even like think twice of hitting record in public.
I think that's beautiful. No, thank you for sharing. It's kind of like I feel like it really aligns too with like I don't need to tell you what's going on. You know what's going on in this country. Like people are literally having the cojones, like literally guts to just leaving America, like literally leaving to all Mexico is like actually progressing, very I was just
Right.
reading about that how they're bringing in even technology from like Japan and stuff, and they're thriving. They're thriving, and people going to France, Italy, just getting out of this country. I was like, that takes a lot of courage, so good for them.
Right. I've even seen entrepreneurs that are creating businesses around helping people move to other countries, specifically Europe, and just like what they need as far as visas and things like that. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, lots of migration. And I think also too, I mentioned that I'm a first generation Dominican American, so
That's right, yeah.
immigration is like a very like I'm grateful that my family came from Dominican Republic to here. I have a cousin who is very much of like I wanted to get away from that, so then she moved to Ecuador. But
Wow.
I think in some ways just the movement and the travel and seeing other parts, even if it is within the same country, it's just a very expand it really expands you as a person.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm considering I mean, I can't right now, but I mean, I would love to maybe like move to Bali, maybe possibly even India because I lived in India for a while. I thought of even Colombia, believe it or not, the
Yeah,
the country Colombia, like
yeah.
I've been watching soap opera like on my downtime. I'm like, God, it's so beautiful there. I was like,
Colombia is very popular right now. I actually had a friend that just visited there a couple months ago.
oh wow. Did they go to Bogota or what part?
I think she was definitely in Cartagena. Uh,
Cartagena, oh yeah, the
yeah.
uh fishing resort place or where they do a lot of fishing there, yeah.
Ah, yes, yes. I think it's like it has to be on the coast then.
Yeah.
But
That's so
yeah,
cool. That's great. Well, I really want to thank you from my heart to yours. Thank you so much for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. And if you're ever in California, maybe we can do an in-person in the
I would
future.
love to.
And you guys, for those of you that are interested in getting your voice out there, can you share your details is going to be below, but could you share your details for anyone that might be listening and wants
Yes.
to write it down?
Yeah, no,
You never know where people are listening from, they
right.
could be
It's just
driving, listening to this on some radio station.
right. But also too, you're actually 40% more likely to remember something if you write it down. So
Exactly.
for somebody who doesn't want to forget. So I have my Instagram. That's primarily where I run my business. It's
Okay.
Rachael.Espaillat. I don't know if I should spell it out because it is a
Yeah,
long.
can you? That would be awesome.
Yeah. Rachael.Espailat. Um, and I do also have a website, remedia.live.
That's great. I feel like when you spell your name, like you're even saying a story. Like,
Well, actually, my last name, if you want to hear the story, it does have some history to it. So my great
tell me, I want to hear.
yeah, my great grandfather was the dictator's right-hand man.
No way. Wow.
So my grandfather, he was in the military, four-star general. And
Wow.
actually, up until he was a little boy, they used to put my last name on the Dominican coins.
Wow.
So, my cousin had one. This is also the cousin that moved to Ecuador, so you can tell how close we are. She had
Oh,
and she was like, I'm gonna hide it in a place that nobody will ever find it. And she lost it and actually had to like buy it on Amazon for like $1 or something. I don't know.
Oh my God, that's really funny. Oh my God. It's a very unique last name though. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah. Most people don't know. I think the origin is probably French, but at some point my ancestors moved to Dominican Republic and now I have
Do
it.
you speak a few languages other than English or?
No, I can fake Spanish really well in the sense I have a great accent. I'm not fluent in it, and that's actually something that I would really love to work on. There were a couple of years ago where I started like doing heavy research on like people that were polyglots. Um, didn't put as much action into it. Did all the research about how people do it. But that is a goal of mine that I would love to be able to speak multiple languages one day.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, again, I want to thank you so, so much for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. Such a pleasure to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And remember, you guys, to smile because you're worthy. Thank you so much.